Today we leave the world of Elden Ring to take a look into the world of Stray. Stray is a dystopian, futuristic cyberpunk adventure game where you play as the titular stray cat. The cat becomes separated from its group and falls into the ruins of an abandoned city. The sky above is blocked out by a wall, leaving the entire city in darkness, except for the glow of neon lights, giving this game an eerie yet futuristic feel. The city is inhabited by robots, drones, and these strange creatures known as Zurks. Your first encounter with the Zurks is a confusing one. They appear as cute little creatures, but very quickly we learn there is nothing cute about them. Zurks are revealed to be a mutated form of a bacteria created by a large corporation known as Necocorp. The bacteria was previously developed by humans to deal with the overflowing garbage and sewage in this underground city. Unfortunately, the Zurks evolved and eventually began to devour anything and everything, metal or organic. There is also no way to control the Zurks, making them extremely dangerous to the remaining population of robots that still inhabit this otherwise barren place. The first non-Zurk we encounter is someone or something communicating through the abandoned televisions and signs. B12 is an artificial intelligence trapped in the system. They recall someone they refer to as the scientist, but seems to have forgotten anything else beyond that. B12 also explains that you, the stray cat, are the first living thing other than a Zurk that it's seen in this part of the city in a very long time. This tiny little drone promises to assist you in returning home, to the outside. After traversing the abandoned areas of the city, eventually the two of you stumble upon a small group of surviving robots, living in a Zurk-free compound. There you discover a lot about this underground world. Humans once occupied the city, and the robots were their companions or servants. The humans were also able to create plant life that could grow and survive without sunlight. Sadly, though, there hasn't been a human in this place for seemingly hundreds of years. And very soon after their mysterious disappearance, the robots grew self-awareness and became the main population of the underground city we know today. They mimic many human behaviors such as watching television or going to bars and socializing. We even see many family units, which is curious since robots cannot have children. We also meet Momo, a member of a group known as the Outsiders, a group of companions who planned on reaching the outside. He reveals that every other member of the Outsiders had already left the compound in search for a way out, leaving behind most of their belongings, their detailed notebooks, and even Momo himself. We learn a bit about the divide that existed in the city through B12's recovered memories. They explain that the giant wall separated the lower class, creating a slum by throwing over garbage and filth, and eventually blocking off all access to the upper levels. This makes finding a way out even more challenging. One of the Outsiders named Doc had developed a sort of light ray that could be used to neutralize Zurks, their one weakness seemingly being UV light. Finding and acquiring this tool allows us access to the sewers, the only known way out of the lower level. Down in the sewers, some rather dark aspects about the Zurks are uncovered. The Zurks burst out from egg-shaped pods that are pinkish flesh tone, which is odd because bacteria actually multiply by splitting into two. Along the floors and walls of the sewers is a lining that very much resembles human tissue, as well as large, human-like eyes that peer down and follow your every movement. It is very jarring the first time you see it. B12 has a revelation that perhaps we are in a living organism, noting how the flesh and eyes seem to pulse as though alive. This prospect is chilling to imagine. Once out of the sewers, we find Ant Village, a small haven where the outsider Balthazar and a handful of others have set up a stationary encampment. A Another pod like the one in the scientist's lab is at the foot of the vertical village, prompting B12 to remember something very important. They recall the scientist going into the pod, alone, and attempting to be uploaded, but something went awry, and they became stuck in the network. B12 was the scientist. They were once human. They had lived and even had a family. But after being trapped in the system for so long, all of that was forgotten. If the scientist had used this pod with the intention to upload himself, that means others would and could have done the same. There is also a non-functioning robot lying next to the scientist's pod. It appears to have wires connecting to its head. Was this the scientist's intended body? If so, then all of the companion robots could be humans who had their consciousnesses uploaded and transferred. This is an extremely interesting part of the game's story, but it also shows the sheer desperation amongst the people in this world. Were the Zerks the reason behind this mass upload, or was it something else? Midtown is the next level, where we meet the outsider known as Clementine. This level is under strict policing done by the Sentinels, a police force of drones and a few robots. Here we see even more companions, all of them with their own unique quirks and emotions. The city is lively and resembles any other city, with places to eat and shop. There's even a nightclub where the companions can be seen dancing, partying, and DJing. Sentinels enforce rules and don't allow anyone to leave the city for their own safety. Just like in most police states, the amount of control being asserted over the companions is extremely high, and the consequences can literally be life or death. As we see in the jail, many of the companions there are being rebooted or erased. And if they are in fact humans, this means slowly erasing humanity, one by one. Eventually we make it to the control room, a place that is a stark contrast to the rest of the city. Its clean white surfaces and fluorescent overhead lighting gives off a very sterile and office-like appearance. It is there that we discover the last remaining true companion robots. They speak politely and focus on their pre-programmed tasks, such as painting the walls, cleaning the windows, and pruning the plants. This was their initial purpose, and we can see the clear difference between the companions who danced in Midtown, the outsiders who dreamed of escape, to the robots here. This is where B12 remembers exactly what happened to the human race. Walled City number 99 was created to protect humanity from a disaster that occurred on the surface. But just like in real life, they found ways to separate the classes, using walls as physical barriers and strict police forces to keep people from venturing past their level. But a plague began to spread amongst the lower class. The elite thought they were safe, so they closed off the lower level and allowed many people to die from the plague. B12 remembers watching his family die, helpless and abandoned. The upper levels were not so safe after all, though, as they too are no longer around, making B12 the last human who remembers. Although Stray was a rather short game, the story is incredibly rich and full of interesting details. From this point on, this is total speculation, but I imagine that Walled City number 99 is in fact the 99th of this type of underground city. It would seem that many different civilizations of human would have built these safe cities to try and save as many people as possible from whatever disaster occurred above ground. They created a huge water system and even developed plants that could grow without sunlight, but it seems their lack in planning on what to do with waste was their ultimate downfall. The plague that killed off many of the humans was likely due to the poor living conditions in the slums. The Zerks were created to deal with the overflowing garbage, but but it was too little too late at that point. The evolution of the Zerks is very interesting and makes me wonder if they absorbed what they ate, producing human-like living organisms through consumption. This would have meant that they ate humans as well as garbage, which would explain the lack of dead bodies. An extremely disturbing detail when you really think about it. The companions all being humans uploaded is to me the best theory in this game, something that is very popular in sci-fi. It explains so much about the world, the outsiders writing in notebooks in the newly created written language, the companions dressing their bodies in unique fashion, the consumption of food and beverages even though they don't need to, even creating art and music. These are all things humans would do, not programmed machines. This means that humanity still lives on. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel for more lore and video game content. I can't wait to talk to you all in the next one. Bye!